What's up, nerds? Welcome to Guys at Magic. Come on in and hang out. I'm Shane, and today in this video, I'm going to be going over a deck that I built for a new card that came out in the Marvel Secret Lair drop. And that card's going to be Storm, Force of Nature. Pretty spicy one. If you like to see all the other decks that came out in that Marvel Secret Lair drops, they're already on the channel, so this is the last one we got to do. That being said, big caveat here. This is just my opinion of the deck. I know there's probably a million ways to build this deck. I'm only one person, and I put in the cards that I put in. So down in the comments, if there's any cards that I missed or a whole different thing that you did in your deck, let me know. I want to hear about them. With that out of the way, let's just talk about the card. The Storm Force of Nature is 1, a green, a blue, and a red, for a 3/4 mutant hero. She has flying and vigilance, and it also says, when Storm deals combat damage to a player, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn has Storm. A quick reminder for what Storm is. When you cast it, copy it for each spell cast before in this turn. You may choose new targets for the copy. So the idea with Storm here, you got to swing in with her, you got to connect, do some combat damage, and then the next thing you cast, you're going to hopefully cast more than once, because you'll have some spells that you cast before you attacked with her. So it's pretty sweet. I did mention this was a Secret Lair drop, so right off the bat, I want to show all the cards that came in the Secret Lair drop. I built this deck assuming that we were one of the few lucky ones to get our hands on this drop. I know it's kind of controversial, and the deck sold out immediately, and it was a big debacle. But hey, with this deck in mind, I'm thinking I got all the cards. We're putting all of them in because they're beautiful. That being Ice Storm, Storm's Will, Aurora Borealis, Lightning Bolt. They're already all in the Storm Secret Lair drop. Awesome new art, and they go really well in the deck. I put them all in there. With this being a Spellslinger deck that I was putting together, let's talk about some of the creatures before we get all the spells out of the way. We'll talk about the creatures first. The first one I put in is Archmage Emeritus. It's 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2 human wizard. It has Magecraft that says, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. In this deck, that's going to draw us a lot of cards. And card draw wins games, I heard. I wanted to have that. I'm also putting in Bergi, God of Storytelling. 2 and a red for a 3/3 god. It says, whenever you cast a spell, add red until end of turn. You don't lose mana as steps and phases end. It also has some text we don't really care about. It says, creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. That's cool. We don't really have boast in this deck. But we really care about that first part. Getting mana, casting stuff, and then keeping it around. Pretty good. I'll put in a new card from Bloomborough. It's Bria Riptide Rogue. 2, a blue and a red for a 3/3 auto rogue. It has prowess, and it says other creatures you control have prowess. It also says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Now that's really good in this deck for multiple reasons. Giving everything prowess is obviously amazing in a Spellslinger deck, but then that last part of whenever you cast something, you can give something unblockable. The fact that our commander needs to deal combat damage is pretty relevant. I know she has flying, which is a form of evasion, but giving her unblockable is huge. So now, even if they have flying, can't block it. And that's going to be kind of a theme that I did here. I really wanted to make sure that you can connect with her. So the whole can't be blocked this turn, you're going to see that come up a couple times. These next two are pretty similar. Goblin Anarcheomancer is going in the deck for a red and a green. It's a 2/2 Goblin Shaman. It says each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. That's really good in Spellslinger decks. Now our stuff's costing a little cheaper. That way we can cast more things to hopefully get a bigger Storm payoff. Great. The other one being Goblin Electromancer, a blue and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Wizard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That one's just flat. All of them cost 1 less. Really good card, both of them. We're going to make our stuff cheaper and hopefully be able to cast a bunch in one turn. That's the goal, at least. Gutter Snipe is in my deck. 2 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Gutter Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's really big. We're Spellslinger deck, and that says each opponent. So we're not having to target and do slow stuff. Whenever we cast stuff, the whole board gets hit. So that actually might make you a little bit of a target. Be careful with that, but it's going to be good damage. Hullbreaker Horror is in my list. 5 and 2 blue. The 7/8 Kraken Horror. It has flash, and it says this spell can't be countered. It also says whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Either way, you're bouncing something, and that is huge in the tempo department. So if this thing resolves and it's your turn next, you're gonna be nuts. Like if this thing is on the board, you are commanding the game, and it's gonna be really good for you. This next one might look a little interesting, but I put it in here specifically because our commander wants to deal combat damage. I put in K9 Mark 1. 1 blue mana for a 1/1 robot dog. It says, as long as K9 Mark 1 is untapped, other legendary creatures you control have Ward 1. It also has the ability where you can pay 1 in a blue, tap it, target legendary creature can't be blocked this turn. It also says Doctor's Companion, that's completely irrelevant. But the fact that it can give your creature Ward 1, which is nice, and then also give your commander unblockable. Again, little unblockable cheekiness going on there. I really like this card. Lair, Disciple of the Drowned is in the deck. 3 and 2 blue for a 3/4 human wizard. It says spells can't be countered. It also says each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost. This card's nuts in the deck. It gives you the ability to cast all your stuff twice, and it makes all your stuff uncounterable. Like, he's gonna just pull tons of weight in this deck. Big fan. I also put in Osier Pakbatik Deepest Epoch. It's 2 and 2 blue for a 4/3 god. It has flying. It says whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains rebound. And then it also says whenever it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under your owner's control with 3 time counters on it. Quick reminder for what rebound is. Exile it as it resolves at the beginning of your next upkeep. You may cast it from exile without paying its mana cost. You're basically getting to cast the thing twice. Granted, it's only going to work on your instants, not your sorceries, but that's still pretty good. Double the instant. I like that. That means more storm counters. Put in Seedborn Muse, 3 and 2 green for a 2/4 spirit. It just says untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. This just allows you to now cast on everyone's turn. Lots of instants. It's great. It's a great card. Really good. Stormkiln Artist is in the deck. 3 and a red for a 2/2 Dwarf Shaman. It says that it gains +1/+0 for each artifact you control. It also has Magecraft that says, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. We're going to be making a lot of treasure with this guy, and then he'll get bigger for the amount of treasure on the field. So it's kind of a double whammy here, and really good card in the deck. Another new one that I'm adding from Bloomburrow is Stormcatch Mentor. A blue and a red for a 1/1 Otter Wizard. Got haste, and it's got prowess, and it says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Really good. Prowess, we already talked about that, really good. And then making all your stuff cheaper, also really good. Check, check. I'm adding even another Otter from Bloomburrow, because they're all really good. Storm Splitter is in the deck for 3 and a red, a 1/4 Otter Wizard. It also has haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter. Exile that token at the beginning of the next end step. This card's going to really care about mainly the spells you cast prior to combat, because you want to be able to attack with all the things you're creating. So that's pretty cool. It's also going to just do a ton of damage. This thing can get exponentially 1,000,000 copies. Tolrin Sky Summoner's in the deck, 2 and 2 blue, a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. We're going to be casting a lot of things. That means creating a lot of things, making a lot of things. That's a lot of... How many times can I say things? Good card. Thunderclap Drake is in. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Drake. It's got flying, and it says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. You can also pay 2 and a blue. Sacrifice this card. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Hopefully your commander won't have died 1,000,000,000 times, but let's say it's been twice or maybe even 3 times. The next thing you cast now gets to copy 3 times. Like, that could be pretty good. I like this card. Veyrin, Voice of Duality is in the deck. It's 1, a blue and a red for a 2/2, a Freet Wizard. Got Magecraft that says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Veyrin gets +1/+1 till end of turn. It also says if you casting or copying an instant or sorcery spell causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. That's the deck. That's what the deck wants to kind of do, right? We want to have things that care about casting, and this guy will let us trigger it twice. Really good. And then, of course, Young Pyromancer, the OG. 1 and a red for a 2/1 Human Shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. That's just a good way to get bodies on the field. You want bodies to block or attack, you know, offense, defense. You do whatever. It's a great card. Those are all the creatures that I'm putting in the deck. Now let's talk about some spells. First up, let's talk about sorceries. Artful Dodge is 1 blue mana for a sorcery. It says target creature is unblockable this turn. Got a flashback of 1 blue mana. I like this card, like I said in the beginning. Giving your commander unblockable in the beginning starts up the amount of spells that you cast this turn. And then a flashback of 1, you get to do it again. Multiple times. Multiple ways to start ticking up those spells you cast in 1 turn. Really good card for 1 mana. Dissertation Strike is 1 blue mana for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. It also has Rebound. Another good way to start racking up the amount of spells you're casting in your turn. giving your commander unblockable, and then rebound, you get to do it again next turn for free. Pretty good. Enter the Enigma, 1 blue mana for a sorcery. Target creature can't be blocked this turn, draw a card. Another good way, cantrip, which means you get to draw a card for 1 mana. And then also giving your commander unblockable and starting up that spell counter. We want little things to start massing up, so then after you attack with Storm, you play something bigger, boom. You played spells before you attacked, really good. Slip Through Space is the last one in this little package. 1 blue mana for a sorcery. It has Devoid, this card has no color. And then it says, target creature can't be blocked this turn, draw a card. So just like enter the Enigma, another card. For 1 mana, you're drawing a card, and you're also making your commander unblockable, and starting up that spell counter. You seen a theme here? Really good card, really good cards. We got a couple more sorceries to talk about. First is Blasphemous Act. It's 8 in a red for a sorcery that says, this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. Now, if you're behind and you need a board wipe, really good board wipe for 1. I like this. Chandra's Ignition is also in. 3 and 2 red. Sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. This is a pretty big sorcery. If this is another card you cast after you attacked, you're going to pretty much wipe everything and potentially do a lot of damage to people, because if this thing is stormed off twice, 3 times, like, boom, that's a lot of damage. Speaking of a lot of damage, Grape Shot, 1 in a red for a sorcery. Grape Shot deals 1 damage to any target, and it has Storm. This card is nuts. This card, if you've casted a couple things before, it's going to be cast in so many copies. And just going boom, 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 kill, 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 kill. I like this card a lot in the deck. A really good payoff in this deck that people are not going to like is Time Warp. For 3 and 2 blue, it's a sorcery. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but if you're casting this after you attacked, and you're getting 2, 3 copies of this card, you're going to be a problem. You're going to take a lot of turns. You're going to do a lot of damage. The last 2 sorceries in this deck are just kind of boring, but needed. It's Ramp. So Farseek and 3 Visits are both in the deck. They're 1 and a green for a sorcery. Farseek says, search your library for a plains, island, swamp, mountain. Put it into your battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. And 3 Visits says, search your library for a forest card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Just really good ramp for 2 mana. It's a good way to start up the Storm counter and ramp. Those are all the sorceries in the deck. Let's jump into the instance. And this first group is going to be counters and removal, just fun stuff like that. I'll put in an Offer You Can't Refuse for 1 blue mana. It's an instant that says counter target non-creature spell. Its controller makes 2 treasure tokens. You probably don't care about them making treasure tokens, because countering something that's really big is really good. Beast Within, 2 and a green. Destroy target permanent. Its owner creates a 3/3 green Beast creature token. Now, if that's something you cast after you've attacked, doing that multiple times, removing multiple things, pretty good. Also, Chaos Warp, 2 and a red. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, put that onto the battlefield. Really mean removal. You'll probably never see that card again, unless you're just unlucky and they see it immediately. But again, if this gets stormed off multiple times, this is pretty good. Fierce Guardianship is 2 and a blue for an instant. If you control your commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. Really good protection spell when you have your commander out. Free counters are historically super broken. I like this card. Flusterstorm's in the deck for 1 blue mana. Instant. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1. And it has Storm. So paying 1 is kind of not a big deal in EDH, but if you storm off with that, 1 can turn into 3, 4, 5. It could be huge. Really good. Really good. I'm putting in a cool card from one of the Doctor Who sets. Reverse the Polarities for 1 and 2 blue. It's an instant that says choose 1. Counter all other spells, or switch each creature's power and toughness until end of turn, or creatures can't be blocked this turn. So there's a little bit of everything going on here. You can counter if you need to counter. You can make your commander unblockable if you need to attack. You can switch the power if you have a good favorable block or attack. Like, there's a lot going on here. I like this card a lot, actually. Snap is going in the deck for 1 and a blue, instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand, untap up to 2 lands. So if you got the mana open, this is just kind of like a free bounce spell. And if you can storm off multiple things, that's pretty good. Untapping multiple things, that's pretty good. Soul's Fires in the deck, 2 and a red, instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. Just a really good way to deal more damage. And if you storm, that's multiple things to do. You seen it? You're definitely seeing a theme here. These next 2 don't really need to be stormed off. They're just really good board wipe, board clear, just board anything. They're really good. Starstorm's in the deck for an X and 2 red. Instant, it deals X damage to each creature. Got cycling of 3. So you could storm this off if you want to, but you don't really need to. It's just, you just dump in a bunch of mana. Crazy. Cyclonic Rift is 1 and a blue. Instant. It says return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. It also has Overload for 6 and a blue. You may cast this spell for its overload cost. If you do, change the text by replacing all instances of target with each. So that just means instead of targeting the one thing, you just board wipe everything. And by board wipe, I mean you make everyone pick up all their non-land permanents. They're sad. You probably know this card. Good one. We got some more good instants to talk about. Big scores in the deck for 3 and a red instant. It says as an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. And then draw 2 cards, create 2 treasure tokens. The cool thing about these kind of cards with additional costs is that once they get copied, you don't got to pay that. So you do the 1 discarding, draw 2, make 2 treasure tokens, and then for each copy, you're just drawing 2 and making 2 treasure tokens. Really good. Expedite is 1 red mana for an instant. Target creature gains haste till end of turn, draw a card. Really good way to make your commander or whatever you play gain haste, and then you're just drawing a card. I love these cheap spells that draw you a card. Just a really good way to start adding to that storm counter. Really good. Growth Spiral is a green and a blue for an instant. Draw a card, then you put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Again, a cheap-ish way to draw a card and then start ramping and adding to the storm counter. Really good card. Psychotic Fury is 1 and a red for an instant. Target multicolored creature gains double strike till end of turn. Draw a card. You're going to be doing tons of damage now with your commander or whatever's on the field with double strike and drawing a card. Like, cannot go wrong. Really good card. Another one that I'm adding from the Doctor Who set, Run for Your Life. For a blue and a red, it's an instant. It says 1 or 2 target creatures each gain haste till end of turn. They can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. It also has escape for 2 blue and a red. I love these cards that you can cast again from the graveyard. Very powerful. Giving your creature the ability to not be blocked, once again, fantastic. And haste, like this card does a lot. And I like it. Teamer Battle Rage is in the deck for 1 and a red. It's an instant. Target creature gains double strike till end of turn. It's got Ferocious. That creature also gains trample until end of turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. You might not always be triggering that bottom part because a lot of the creatures in your deck, especially your commander, are not 4 power. But just that top part is enough, I think. And if you do in fact get the bottom part, fantastic. And the last instant is Twin Inferno. For 1 and a red, instant, choose 1. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Or target creature you control gains double strike till end of turn. Both are super mean, and both go really well in the deck because we care about attacking and we care about copying. So it's kind of like, yeah, put this in. It does both things you want to do. This next group is artifacts that are pretty important because, like I've been saying multiple times, in this deck, it's kind of special in the fact that your commander needs to connect for damage for it to do the thing you want to be doing. So these are all going to help that happen. Brotherhood Regala is 2 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets Ward 2 and is an assassin in addition to its other types, and can't be blocked. Equipped legendary creature for 1 and equipped for 3. So it's super cheap to put on your commander. It gives your commander unblockable and Ward 2. Really good equipment. This next one is from Lord of the Rings, and I'm sorry if I butcher the name, but it's Glamdring. For 2 mana, it's a legendary equipment. It says equipped creature has first strike and gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. It also says whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. Equip cost of 3. That's really good in this deck. We're going to be having a lot of those instant sorceries in the grave, so it'll be hopefully getting a little bigger. And then with it getting bigger, you'll be able to play bigger things from your hand for free. Lightning Greaves is in the deck, 2 mana for an artifact equipment. It says equipped creature has haste and shroud. Equip cost of 0. This one is important to remember. Shroud means you can't target it either. So be very careful. Put it on something that you're not going to need to be targeting. Otherwise, just giving something haste and protection from a lot of things. Really good. Silver Shroud Costume is in the deck. 2 mana for an artifact equipment. It's got flash, and it says when it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. This creature gains Shroud until end of turn. It also says equipped creature can't be blocked. Equip cost of 3. So you get to cast this, flash it in to protect something. It's got Shroud just for that one turn, so unlike Lightning Greaves, you have to remember constantly it has Shroud. This just has protection for that one time. And then forever, can't be blocked. So it's really good in the deck because we don't want to be blocked. Sword of Wealth and Power is in the deck for 3 mana. Artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries. It also says whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Equip cost of 2. This is just fantastic. Granted, you're not getting protection from a color, which the other swords do give you. This is just giving you protection from all of the things that normally target and kill. So that's really good. And then giving you treasure tokens and copying, kind of what the deck already wants to do. So this is just like a super win in this deck. The last equipment in the deck is Whisper Silk Cloak. 3 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked and has Shroud. Equip cost of 2. You're kind of seeing a theme here, but we really want our commander to not be blocked. And then Shroud, that's just an additional extra. I like all these cards in the deck. There are 4 more artifacts that I put in this deck, and they're all just like mana dorks. Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, and Talisman of Creativity. They're just really good mana rocks. You've probably seen them around. I put them in to make mana. Really good. The last one that's a little different though is Primal Amulet for 4 mana. It's an artifact. It says instant or sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on this. Then if there are 4 or more counters on it, you may remove those counters and transform it. It transforms into a land that says add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. When that mana is spent to cast instant or sorcery spells, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. So in the front half, it's helping you cast a bunch of cool stuff, adding the counters to it. And then when you get that critical mass of 4, remove them all, make it a land, and then copy whatever you cast with that mana. That's great. That's what the deck wants to do, once again, so I threw it in. This next section is just enchantments that I thought were really good. I only put in 5, not too many. And the first one's not even a proper enchantment, it's an aura. So Aqueous Form is 1 blue mana for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. It says enchanted creature can't be blocked. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, scry 1. That's just good card advantage, and now your commander can't be blocked again. I like it a lot. Double Vision is 3 and 2 red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's really good. That's just racking up that storm counter, baby. Fiery Inscription is 2 and a red for an enchantment. When it enters, the ring tempts you. And it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Fiery Inscription deals 2 damage to each opponent. The fact that this card says each opponent is why I love it. None of that stupid stuff of targeting. It's just whenever you do what the deck wants to do, which is cast and copy stuff, you're doing 2 damage to everything. That's fantastic. Heuristic Study is kind of just like a generic good one in this one, I'll admit. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. It says whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. I'm sure everyone's seen it. It is just a generically good enchantment, I admit, but card draw wins games, and this one draws a lot. The last enchantment I'm throwing in is 1000-Year Storm. For 4, a blue, and a red, it's an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you cast before this one. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this enchantment can just get exponentially nuts. It's like you cast, and then you cast more, then you cast more, and you cast like you're going to be a problem with this on the field. And that's everything. So let's just jump into the lands now. This first part are all just like utility land that I think are really good. Access Tunnel is a land that taps for a colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap it. Target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. That's your commander. Your commander has 3. Can't be blocked now. A little cheaper Rogue's Passage. Kessig Wolf Run is in the deck. Taps for 1 generic mana. You can pay X, a red and a green, to tap it. Target creature gets +X/+O and gains trample on a turn. That's really good to make your commander huge or whatever's attacking. Fantastic. Mystic Sanctuary is in the deck. It's an island. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. And when it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. So that's just some good recursion. I like that. Reliquary Tower is in the deck. You have no max hand size and it taps for a colorless. In a deck that wants to be drawing a lot of cards, this is fantastic. And then just like Access Tunnel, Rogue's Passage is in the deck. It taps for a colorless and you can pay 4, tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So unlike Access Tunnel, this one just lets any creature not get blocked. Other than the utility, these are just some really good lands that I put in the deck. I put in all 3 of the shocks, so Breeding Pool, Steam Vents, and Stomping Grounds. They all enter the battlefield tapped unless you pay 2 life. And then they can tap for the respective colors. The Breeding Pool is a green and a blue. Steam Vents is a blue and a red, and Stomping Ground is a red and a green. If you have these, just put them in your deck. They make them so much better. Similarly, I put in all of the Bond lands, the ones that are basically made for EDH. Rejuvenating Springs, Spire Garden, and Training Center. They all enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Welcome to EDH. Hopefully you have 2 or more opponents. And then they all tap for their respective colors. Rejuvenating is a green and a blue. Fire is a red and a green. And Training is a blue and a red. Another one. If you have all these, put them in your decks for EDH. They're fantastic. I put in all the slow lands that I could put in. Dreamroot Cascade, Rockfall Vale, and Stormcarved Coast. They all enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more other lands, which is cool. And then they tap for the respective colors once again. Dreamroot is a green and a blue, Rockfall is a red and a green, and Stormcarved is a blue and a red. I also put in 2 Pain lands, so Shivan Reef and Yavimaya Coast. They're lands that can tap for a colorless, or you can tap them to get you colored mana, but they deal 1 damage to you. So Shivan is a blue and a red, and Yava is a green and a blue. Some more just generically great lands. Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Frontier Bivouac, and Ketra's Triome are in the deck. Command Tower can add 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity. Exotic Orchard can tap for 1 mana that an opponent can produce. Frontier Bivouac enters the battlefield tapped, but it can tap for a green, a blue, or a red. And then Ketra's also enters the battlefield tapped, but it can tap for a blue, a green, and a red, and it's got cycling 3. And then to sum it up in the basic land department, I put in 4 forests, 6 islands, and 5 mountains. And that adds up to 35 lands, and that also adds up to the entirety of my deck. I think this Storm Force of Nature card is pretty interesting. She is a storm card, but she cares about combat damage. So it's like, you gotta make sure that you're having a healthy mixture of being able to do the combat damage, or otherwise you're kind of just another normal Spellslinger deck. So in this list, I did kind of focus on making sure that I could deal combat damage. So that's kind of why you see all those cards. But I want to hear from you guys. How did you build her? Did you build her in a different direction? Did you maybe not focus so much on can't be blocked? Because I know that there's different ways to build her, and I want to hear about them. Leave me a comment down below. Also, while you're down there, in the description, you'll find a link to the Mox Field. If you'd like to playtest this deck, check it out, see the cards, find a link down in the description. Also down in the description, you'll find a link to all of our social medias. That's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. It's gonna be @GuysAtMagic for all of it. Also, while you're down there, you can find a link to our Patreon. All these people on screen right now, those are all our Patreon members. If you want to see what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, you'll find the link in the description. You can see things like deck techs, gameplays, anything like that. So check it out and consider subscribing. I hope you guys like this deck tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!